Beast Games is a place where only the smartest, most resourceful, strongest, and luckiest survive. Does luck really matter in Beast Games? Is that truly the case? Let's analyze this question by looking at one of the most absurd episodes of game, where any player can be eliminated through voting, regardless of their skills, alliances, or betrayals. Spoiler alert, this episode is not about luck, but about specific steps that can guarantee victory at every level. This is 20th Frame, let's go. In this episode, the rules are simple and absurd. Every minute, one player is eliminated regardless of their level of preparation based on a vote. If players refuse to vote, a random participant is eliminated. There are 20 players, meaning the initial chance of winning is 1 in 20, just 5%. However, these odds can be improved, which we'll discuss further. The player's first strategy was to eliminate those who already had money, that is...
I feel like some people deserve to get eliminated if they took the bribe.
If you were among them, tough luck, but at least you'd leave with some money. At the same time, one could shift the blame to someone else, claiming they were the one who won the money. Players didn't seem to clearly remember who actually won. In this situation, you could point the finger at someone else and provide fake evidence to divert attention away from yourself. However, this strategy has a low chance of success if more than 2 people remember your actions. Even so, losing might feel less bitter, as it's simply the consequence of your conscious decisions. The best strategy in such games is to remain invisible, or rather, to not appear as a competitive or toxic threat. Player 17 was toxic, and the outcome was obvious. On the other hand, the woman who didn't show ambition or competitiveness made it effortlessly to the semi-finals. However, it's important not to overdo the silence. Being part of the group, at least occasionally, is crucial. By the end of the game, people are more likely to vote out a quiet stranger rather than someone who maintained communication. That said, there's an optimal strategy for winning this game, which we'll analyze mid-video when one of the players begins using this exact tactic. Chapter 2. In the game with the Red Room, the rules were also simple. Communicate, form alliances, unite, and convince others who their enemy is. Player 10 became an easy target because she overdid it with her silence essentially. She was completely absent from the game. Let me clarify. In the Red Room, you can't see the other players. This means that, unlike the previous game, here you need to talk to people as much as possible. The more you talk, the more you can convince others to eliminate another player and divert attention from your number. Player 10 didn't answer calls from others, making her the most obvious target for competitors. Player 19 came up with a decent tactic, randomly scattering targets among a few players. However, this was quite risky, as team players who hear such manipulations might gang up on her. This game, as Beast himself noted, was designed to encourage alliance building, which is much harder when everyone can see each other. In this setting, you can make people feel vulnerable when alone, or lie about already forming a team of 5 players without revealing their numbers until the person joins you. You can also emphasize the mutual benefit of making it to the final 6 together, which increases the chances for both. Players 10 and 8 were eliminated because they lacked both a team and negotiation skills, while player 9 took a third player down with them. Chapter 3. In the next game, players had to stack blocks on top of the red one until the timer ran out. If someone's tower collapsed, they were eliminated. If no one's tower fell, the player who used the most blocks in their tower would decide who gets eliminated. The first block starts vertically, adding difficulty to the game. On top of that, the weight of the blocks is unknown, complicating the strategy. Solid wooden blocks are sturdier due to their weight, while hollow ones are less stable. Based on how easily players lifted the blocks, the weight appeared negligible, meaning any imbalance could instantly topple the tower. Player 1 was eliminated because, without allies, they were forced to rush and build with as many blocks as possible. In this game, the grip between blocks and the center of gravity were critical factors. The best approach was to keep the blocks or cubes close to the tower. This way, if the tower began to fall, you'd have time to stabilize it, as every millisecond mattered. To ensure stability, the base should have a strong foundation, with the rest of the tower shaped like a triangle. Minimizing unnecessary touches was also crucial. It's essential to breathe deeply to avoid stress and shaky fingers, bad news for long-time alcoholics. Players 19 and 14 proved to be both engineers and Lego masters, giving them a clear advantage, while player 20 was eliminated. In the second round of this game, one player was shown placing 2 blocks at once, which was a great move. Building a solid foundation and stacking as many small blocks as possible is key, as this is a game about quantity, and smaller blocks weigh the least. Meanwhile, players 19 and 14 demonstrated their Minecraft skills. When it came time to decide who to eliminate, the other players started a game of Mafia, trying to convince everyone that this or that person was the biggest threat. It was a good but ultimately hopeless strategy for survival. leading to player 4's elimination. Chapter 4. The next game is one of the most interesting since there are only 7 players left, and with each passing second, the prize pool increases. The player who presses the button first will leave with the accumulated money, which will be deducted from the total prize. It's worth noting that player 18 made the best possible decision, proving to be the smartest player in this round. Here's the reasoning. There are 7 players and $500,000, meaning each player's share is approximately $71,000. With 7 players, each has a 14% chance of winning. So, what would you choose? To secure your share with a 100% guarantee, or to gamble for the entire prize with only a 14% chance of success? Even a fool can see that the logical best option is to take the guaranteed money. Player 18 left with $69,000 without taking any risk. Meanwhile, the others are left with odds of 1 in 6, which is essentially a lottery and a reckless one, considering how Beast's games often rely on luck. It's also worth mentioning that player 18 was pressured by another player, the older woman, to press the button sooner, but she could have waited even longer. What's baffling is why no one else considered pressing the button earlier, given that the money would leave the prize pool. Greed can be a terrible thing. Chapter 5. This round involves random eliminations or the option for a player to voluntarily leave while choosing another player to advance to the finals. This is a self-sacrificing move, unless you have an alliance that trusts you to leave for their sake. As noted, player 15 leaves without any apparent reason. Player 18 could have been in their place, but they realized just in time that it's better to leave games like this early and take the money. After player 15, player 7 also leaves for no strategic reason. Chapter 6. This round involves a cube where players can choose any type of game with equal odds, and player 19 begins to pressure and emotionally manipulate their opponent. From the beginning, the best strategy to win these games was clear: become the leader and the voice of the group. Player 19 demonstrated this skill early on, giving them a significant advantage. When players were unsure of whom to vote out, they instinctively trusted the group leader. You might argue that such players draw too much attention and risk elimination, as mentioned earlier. However, if the player who assumes subconscious authority over the group avoids being pushy or toxic, they won't face significant problem. Moreover, as player 19 influenced the group during eliminations, no one dared go against them. Players subconsciously realized that the person leading the group could easily turn everyone against them. As the game progressed, player 13 made a baffling decision to agree to a weightlifting challenge. Perhaps they had hidden insecurities and wanted to prove they were young and strong, which clouded their judgment, leading to a critical mistake. Meanwhile, player 14 suggested they could play rock, paper, scissors instead. At this point, player 19 revealed their true nature, refusing to leave the outcome to chance. As in previous rounds, they aimed to gain an advantage, manipulating decisions and controlling the game. Meanwhile, player 11 casually advanced to the finals without any significant obstacles. Players 14 and 19 ultimately played the suggested game. In this situation, the odds were truly even. Statistically, many players tend to choose rock as their first move, so starting with paper could be a smart choice. Alternatively, if someone possesses exceptional reflexes, they could try to read micro movements from their opponent, such as the opening of fingers or a specific hand position, to counter their move. However, this requires trained reactions and is incredibly difficult to execute reliably. Chapter 7. The final game requires convincing the opponent to leave voluntarily. If both players remain, the prize money is forfeited. Player 19 immediately takes control of the conversation, offering to share the money if they are the one to leave. This is a bold and calculated move, but it's strange and even absurd that player 11 didn't counter with the same offer, adding that they would request Beast to hold the money until a legal agreement could be signed to ensure the split. Player 19 once again applies their signature strategy of dominating the conversation, and it works. From my perspective, considering how 19 behaved throughout the competition, they seem incredibly calculating and suspicious. It's possible that their personal story and future plans, which they shared to gain trust, were entirely fabricated to manipulate their opponents. From the start, player 19 coldly analysed the optimal paths to victory, and their survival each round was no coincidence. It wouldn't be surprising if, in the end, they chose to keep all the money for themselves. What do you think? Will player 19 share the winnings or take it all for themselves? Thanks for subscribing and commenting. Good luck to everyone.